There's many reasons it matters. Now, first of all, people often said to me, trust, that's so timely. Wow, it's so important today and all that. And I often say, yeah, and it's timeless. It actually always was the most important part of business.
Welcome to a brand new episode of the M&A Mastermind podcast presented by Cornerstone International Alliance. I'm your host, Nick Olsen. On this show, I get the opportunity to talk with the brightest minds in lower middle market M&A. Together, we discuss industry intelligence, deal management, shared successes, specialized expertise, and much more. If you serve the small to medium-sized business owner, this show will offer you tactics and insights you can use and implement now to become a master in M&A. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the M&A Mastermind podcast. My guest today is the CEO of TrustEdge Leadership Institute, the inventor of the Enterprise Trust Index, a 4-time best-selling author. He just published his 5th book, Trust at a Distance. Be sure to go out on Amazon and purchase it today, where we'll dive into that book a little bit as well and what that's all about. He lives on a hobby farm where he boards horses, loves to go fly fishing, and Forbes calls him the world's leading authority on trust. Please welcome my guest today, David Horsager. David, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thanks, Nick. Great to be with you.
Yeah, excited. And I first saw you at the M&A Source Conference back in last spring, I believe, right? And
was that the one in Orlando?
Yep, the one in Orlando back in May. And great presentation, great message. And I'm like, I need to get him on my show. So here we are today, and looking forward to just talking about trust and why it's so important in all, everything that we do, and then kind of dive a little deeper into why it's so important in the M&A process.
Totally.
So tell our listeners, how you became, this leading authority on trust, and how you got Forbes to call you that.
Well, I didn't try for that, first of all. So I think, you go back 20, 30 years ago when I started my grad work and research on this topic, very few people, almost no one was talking about or doing real research on trust out in the corporate world or in business or in leadership or the impact on the bottom line. There was kind of trust and psychology stuff, but I think I was one of the first to tie trust to the bottom line. My argument, of course, is a lack of trust is the biggest cost in a company. It's the biggest cost in a government. We work with everything from, governments to work with, Walmart, FedEx, small companies, big companies, pro sports teams. And we solve the trust. I believe without ego, I think that at the core, it's never, for example, a leadership issue. The reason you follow a leader not is trust. It's never a sales issue. The reason people buy has something to do with trust. The only way to speed up a sales, increase trust in the channel. If you think back to shake a hand, oh, wow, that's simple. If you can trust it. All this paperwork, I don't trust, lawyers, everything else, it takes longer, right? So a lack of trust, you think of M&A, a lack of trust is the biggest cost in getting a deal done. It's not, but you can think in any way, sales or like learning in a classroom. There's only one way to increase learning in any classroom. You have to increase trust in the content, the teacher, or the psychological safety or trust of the room. Marketing messages are only amplified when you increase trust in the message. Diversity, equity, inclusion. The biggest Harvard study shows diversity puts people against each other in some way, any kind, unless you increase trust, and then you can get enormous benefits. So we have to deal with trust. There's a way to build it, and it's beyond, and it's simple sounding, but it's different than people think. So what we find is when people actually use that framework, they solve the real problem instead of just saying, oh, leadership or sales or whatever, and they don't do anything about it. That epiphany happened. That led to my grad work. Then we started using it in companies. First one said they dropped attrition a few $1 million. Then we had the, people triple sales. We had one of the biggest companies in the world increase engagement scores using it. We had a Fortune 50 companies say they gained 11% market share in $1 billion business unit a year. We had the Admiral of the Navy say they dropped suicide rates using this framework when we trained 15,000 sailors. We've got a few hundred certified partners on 6 continents using this work. Of course, there's a few things I think why Forbes said that to answer the question is not only do I speak 100 times a year around the world and we do this research and I advise, top CEOs, even senators and representatives and whatever, but also we put out a big piece of research every year, the Trust Outlook, and that's available to your folks for free, trustoutlook.com, or they can go to TrustEdge and look for the research. We pay for all that, so that's not there's never any bias in the study from somebody that wants us to make them look trusted. TrustEdge.com/research or the Trust Outlook is that's a key piece. I think the 5 best-selling books and different things probably did it, speaking, whatever. So anyway.
Yeah,
that's some of it.
So the TrustEdge Leadership Institute, you kind of mentioned some of the things you're doing. Anything else that you guys focus on that our listeners should know about?
Well, I think there's four big buckets. We would say we do the research. That's that piece that we're I think put out some of the biggest research on trust and leadership all around, globally. Then we call it kind of ICE. That's for us to remember, Minnesota term here. I is we inspire a shift of thinking around trust. That's a lot of my work, actually. My speaking at some of the biggest conferences in the world around this topic. That's my books. That's even maybe some of my advisory work on boards and stuff. Looking for one more board, by the way, now. So if there's a great fit out there, I'll take a look. The C is clarify and measure trust. We have 5 measurement tools. The Enterprise Trust Index, that was my grad work mixed with 40 years of Accenture data. And we measure and trust and close gaps in big organizations. We have a team assessment, self-assessment, all that. These ways we measure trust and close gaps. We think when you measure trust, you're measuring the most important, part of your company as far as the bottom line and impact and everything else. That's the C. So inspire, clarify, and then the E is equip. And we equip companies to solve. So that's 250 certifieds around the world, or people that license our work to use it in their company to create a high-performing culture based on trust, or high-performing teams based on trust. They, get equipped in the 8-pillar framework and in the 40 tools, trust tools. There's really like 45 now, but the trust tools to actually build that framework in there, from how do I build trust in conflict to how do I cascade trust through a big organization to how do I have crystal clear messages and all these things.
The I you said is kind of your framework around, your books, and I want to kind of dive into that a little bit deeper.
Inspiring. Yep.
And
it's all these things inspire the trust framework. So we either inspire it, we measure it, clarify and measure it, or we equip it. But it's all, the framework is what we do, we're inspiring it, we're training it, we're equipping it, we're measuring it. But it's the 8-pillar framework and then all the tools under that.
Yep. Which we'll dive into a little bit on the 8-pillar framework as well. Yep. But you've written 4 books. Trust at a Distance is coming out. Tell us a little bit about that book and why people need to go get it, because I think, we were talking offline about the purpose of it, and I think it's very relevant to today's society.
I think there's 2. This year, first, Trust Matters More Than Ever just came out, and that has the 8-pillar framework. It has the tools. I think for M&A, people could use that. They can save millions. They can solve situations. That's just actionable. It's a beautiful book. The new book is really cool in that it really fits a space. I just got this printout. It comes this week, but they just sent it. It's called Trust at a Distance, 6 Strategies for Managing in Remote Workspaces. This book is unique in that so many people still, whether they're still remote from the pandemic or they just have to deal with it around the world, we worked with lots of big companies that had to, their manager was in Switzerland when they were in Japan, or like Takeda Pharmaceuticals, for example, was a big project for us, or some others. They were dealing with remote issues no matter what in this world of technology. And so, I love to be in person. There are some benefits of remote in the hiring pool, but there's also some ways you need to do leadership and management differently. And when you do, you have a much better chance of success. And so there's these 6 strategies that give some tools people can use when they're in remote spaces. One of them, one of the challenges, for example, in a remote is accountability. And so it's like the managers think, well, they're not doing their job. They're just walking their dog and, doing their laundry. And the employees thinking, would they get off my back and trust me? And we know both sides have been wrong. We know people in the pandemic, a guy that worked 4 jobs and didn't actually work any of them, but took paychecks. And we know of leaders that are micromanaging and want people to have chips in their wrists and watch everything they're doing. How do we redefine accountability? One idea, a simple idea there is, as much as you can in remote, if you can pay for results, that's what wins. Don't care if they walk the dog or not, but you pay for results. If you can incentivize that way, that helps a lot. That's just one of the many ideas in that space. Another big one, just to give one other quick idea, one of the biggest frustrations of remote workforce is that they don't know when their next predictable meeting is with their supervisor. A lot of times what happens is where we had in person, we had, every Monday morning meetings or whatever it is. And in remote, no, let's just reschedule. Let's reschedule. And what we find is an employee can handle a lot in their hands and thinking through if they just know when their next meeting is and it's predictable. But if they don't know, they shut down, they say, forget it, they get frustrated. So one thing you can do is just make sure throughout your organization that you have predictable next meetings for everybody. I mean, these are just two simple ideas. Of course, there's many, 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 but those will lose, you get rid of a lot of frustration with those.
Yep. Buy the book, learn the rest of the strategies.
Yeah, there you go. Trust at a distance.
Yeah, right. Trust is often described as a foundation of a lot of any successful business. Why is it even more essential in today's fast-paced environment that we live in? And maybe tie that a little bit to M&A and just, because business owners looking to sell, there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that relationship between advisor, client, business owner. There's a lot of trust that happens there. You're selling your biggest asset, probably your biggest financial transaction. And it's very fast-paced.
Yeah. It's all those things. I mean, there's many reasons it matters. Now, first of all, people often said to me, trust, that's so timely. Wow, it's so important today and all that. And I often say, yeah, and it's timeless. It actually always was the most important part of business. And it's just, we see it more today for a few reasons. One, a bank that went under in Silicon Valley can have ramifications in Madrid, right? So something that happened way over here didn't have the ramifications that it had. Or if we remember the power grid failure over in the Northeast had ramifications in Europe. So we're so interconnected. That's one of the reasons. Many more. A moral failure of a leader can have far-reaching impact. That's more than ever before. I have 10 of those. In Trust Matters More Than Ever, I have 10 of the reasons it matters more than ever. But those are a few things right now. For M&A, if we just think about it, first of all, when I don't understand something, I need more trust. Or the less I know, the more I need trust, right? So if I don't understand technology or I don't understand financial planning, I'm going to basically find a financial planner I trust because I'm going to hope they do the right things for my benefit. Technology, someone setting up technology, I have to, because I don't understand everything behind the thing, I have to go with the group or I trust the most. It's the same for M&A. Basically, what I'm looking for in partners is just people I can trust. If I can, it's you guys. Like I've worked with you guys, like Cornerstone. If I can go into Cornerstone, like I want to know. I know Scott Bushke. I know Nick Olsen. Like I have to go because I'm not going to know everything on both sides. I'm not going to know everything about certain things. So I have to find someone I can trust to do the thing. It's the same with tax strategy. It's the same with any kind of advising. I'm simply, that's what I'm looking for. Way more than being liked. I'm not saying it's not great to be liked, but we all have friends we like a whole lot. We wouldn't go into business with in a million years.
Right.
The question everybody's asking is not, do I like you? The question behind every single question is always, can I trust you? And so that's that, in M&A, this matters a lot because I can't, but I'm buying that company or selling that company, and I cannot fully, if I'm on the buy side, I can't fully know what is going to be there in a year. On the sell side, I can't fully know that they're going to, keep the culture that I had as a family and loved and wanted so much, but they said they would, but you don't know. So, and on the way forward side, I have to trust someone like, for instance, with Cornerstone, are they going to, I want someone that's going to tell me, I might want to sell it for this. And I think it's worth this, but I do need somebody reasonable to come in and say, you know what? It might have been worth that 10 years ago, but now with AI and this, it might be here. Do you want to do this or do you want to wait another 10 years and it's not going to sell at all? I want to know that, right? Yeah. And it's a little bit what happened to us on the technology side is we needed the truth. We had on something we had a big possibility in 2020, massive, way beyond EBITDA possibility. But things changed in just a few years on that technology. So we need to know, do we want to sell that at all and I'd rather have someone tell me the truth than wait and let's just keep going for what could have happened, So, there's that gets to the pillars, by the way, of how trust is built. And so And I can jump in there for a
Yeah,
second if
let's
you
go.
want.
Because that was going to be
Yeah.
my next question. You have that eight pillar framework. Dive into that. Maybe some
Yep.
couple of them that we can kind of dive into
Well,
deeper.
I'm going to, for a common language, in very short order, I'm going to give you all of them. Now, I speak about these for 8 days. So it's like, you're going to think, oh, I got it. It's so cute and so simple. And it's like, let me tell you, there's a lot more to it. So these 8 traits, these were the 8 traits that came out of the original research of the most trusted leaders and organizations of all time. I will give a very quick brief, and they are defined for clarity by C words, but do not think of them as some cutesy pastoral list of 8 C's. They each represent a really important research funnel. So number 1 is clarity. People trust the clear and they mistrust or distrust the ambiguous or the overly complex. Where I was a professor, we got to look complex, right? Whenever we do, we lose clarity, and that loses trust. Clarity wins today, and I'm going to tell you something. Most marketing agencies and strategy companies do not get clarity at the level I'm talking about. I'm talking about way more clear. Clarity beats cleverness. Clarity wins today, and it's simpler than you think. It's more clear. People go to the place that just says Barb's Haircuts. That's what they want. That's what she does, not beautiful salon of fun and honey. What the heck? It's like, just tell me, right? It's got to be simple, and clear. And I can get into that more, but that means clarity on most people don't have clear values. They don't have clear mission. They don't have clarity where they're going. I mean, there's so many. We have in Trust Matters more than ever. There's 9 tools you can get. I'll give you a very simple one, and this is the simplest, quickest one I could teach. There's some powerful ones there. The strategy there, by the way, of how I lost 50 pounds in 5 months in 2011 is in there, and it's a clarity way, not a fitness example. But one idea, just to run your messages through this under clarity. MRA. Is this message that you're giving to your team, because the message that you're giving because you need to pivot, the missional message, your values, is it MRA? Is it memorable? Is it repeatable by a 5th grader? And is it actionable? And most are not all 3 of those. If you really do it, they'll say, my values are, I've got a value of integrity. What the heck is integrity? What does that look like? It's like, if you don't have that, you go to jail. Like, give me something that looks like, show me that in action. And you can see in a few of the books I've written, I've given case study examples of where they won. Caribou Coffee won for 10 years on a message that was memorable, repeatable, and actionable. They stopped using it. It's part of the reason I think they lost market share in that time. I know the president now, he's great, and they're going to come back with some more clarity, but it's going to be hard to come back against Duncan and some of the others that they went on for a time. So that's one idea. We might come back to those because clarity is something you can listen to a podcast and hear a few of the ideas and use them tomorrow morning.
Yep.
And also you can see results in 2 weeks. But let me just say the others. So second pillar is compassion. We trust those that care beyond themselves. If I don't feel like you care about me, or at least something beyond yourself, I won't want to be accountable to you or buy from you. It doesn't even mean you care so much about me, but if you aren't missional, if you only care about yourself, I just don't want to do business with you. The third is character. We understand, we trust people that do what's right over what's easy. We trust people that are honest. But it's not everything, because I might trust Nick Olsen to take my kids to the ball game because of his character and compassion, but not trust him to give me a root canal because of competency, which is number 4. I want to trust people that are competent in the area I want to trust them. I want that, I want to trust that pilot that's competent and flown that 747 1,000 times, or I want to trust this person. I mean, Cornerstone's an example, not pandering here, but okay, we've done this many business deals in this way, in this space. Oh, I can trust that competence. They get me, right? And so it's competency. By the way, I often say, if you're leading the same way you were 20 years ago, I don't trust you. If you're selling the way you were 10 years ago, I don't trust you. You've got to stay fresh, relevant, and capable. And there's a lot of tools in the Trust Matters book of what you can do to stay fresh and relevant and capable, from good podcasts like this to masterminds to coaching to conferences. But there's some fresh ideas there too. The question you got to ask is, how am I personally staying fresh, relevant, and capable in the area you want to be trusted? The next pillar is commitment. We trust those that stay committed in the face of adversity. If I think you're going to jump during a pandemic or some other hard thing, I probably won't want to lock arms with you. I want someone that's going to stick with me. The next pillar is connection. And some of the words that came out of that one were connection, collaboration. There's other words, by the way. These C words are definitions, but like under compassion, intent, and empathy were big. I can get through these. But anyway, connection and the willingness to connect and collaborate, if you have that willingness and you're not just wanting to be a silo, then people tend to trust those that are willing to connect and collaborate, more. The 7th pillar is contribution. The number one word on this funnel was results. You've got to contribute results. You can have compassion and character, but if we don't get the deal done, you didn't get the result. If I put that fertilizer on the corn and I don't get the yield, we didn't get the result. If I ask you to mow the lawn and it's not, that's a problem. You could be compassionate and whatever, but you got to contribute results to be trusted. Final pillar is consistency, and that's just sameness is what's the only way to build a reputation is consistency. The only way to build a brand is consistency, for good or bad. If you're consistently late, I will absolutely trust you to be late. Right. So, consistency. So these are the 8. If people would just jump down to these 8, they would actually start to solve the real problem. So people, leadership, or, David, you love communication, I bet, because you love C words. Isn't it ever a communication issue? And the truth is, it never at the core is a communication issue. Communication's happening all the time. It's like clear, number 1 pillar, clarity is clear communication is trusted, unclear isn't. Compassion, number 2, is trusted. Hateful communication isn't. High character communication, number 3, is trusted. Dishonest isn't. Competent is trusted. Incompetent isn't. It's the type. So if you get down to these 8, you actually get a common language where you're actually doing what you meant. So we want to solve against these 8. Now, there's a lot of tools to solve against these 8, but if you can learn these 8, put them by your computer or in your vehicle, you can take and say, oh man, I got to struggle with my 17-year-old this week. What is it? Is it, it's communicate? Well, what is communication? Oh, I wasn't clear about that I wanted the lawn mowed by 7:00, or I didn't show care before I came hard down on her for not cleaning her room. Compassion. Or what was it? And if I get to these 8, I get to something I can do to increase trust. And that's the key. Of course, the tools matter a lot, but even if you just get these 8 out of it, you get the right language to solve the issue.
This episode of the M&A Mastermind podcast is powered by Cornerstone International Alliance, where leading M&A firms come together. As part of this international network, you get access to global opportunities, over 200 M&A experts, enhanced collaboration and knowledge sharing, and some of the best M&A tools and resources available, all to help you take your firm to the next level. Ready to join this exclusive network? Visit cornerstoneia.com/new member today. I wanted to kind of go back. I want to go back to clarity, but before that, you talked about, I think it was the 6 pillars that collaboration, connection,
connection,
that kind of thing, connection. And at Cornerstone, our international alliance is all around connection, collaboration, kind of that abundance mindset. We're here to help each other out. If you could dive in a little bit more of that, and just how a group like this we have 33, 34 advisory firms in this group, all connected in this alliance. Well, like what the benefit of that could be for everybody if we're all truly collaborative.
Well, the bigger the problem, the more connection you need, the more collaboration. This is our problem on Capitol Hill. I mean, you might remember this, Nick. Like, one of the boards I've been on is I'm the only non-member of Congress that a few times a year brings Republicans and Democrats, senators and representatives together. And obviously I'm not very good at it. Anyway, but the problem is there are so many incentives today against collaboration and connection. I mean, they've stripped committee assignments if you reach across the aisle. 100 years ago, you had the Republican and Democrat senator from California that would duke it out on the floor, and then they'd get on the train together for 3 days back to California, and they'd eat together every night. They saw each other as human. Today at the Capitol, there's a deli for Republicans and a deli for Democrats. They never see each other. They don't touch each other. They don't connect with each other. So part one of that is connecting on a human level. One of our greatest exercises we do with leadership teams is called the trust shield. And it's this paradox of the shield. The more you actually shield in a way, create a shield, the more you actually connect. So it's beyond the this time together, but it's just that knowing each other personally is one part of that, is that you seeing each other as human. That doesn't mean what some people are afraid of, which is, well, we just do parties all the time and have fun all the time. We never get anything done. It's actually, that doesn't work either. You have to have the most connected people see each other as human and connect toward a common goal, move towards something, even missional, work-wise, whatever. So that's why people that were, they were in battle together at Normandy, and they're connected for life because they saw each other's personal here. They knew each other's human, and they had a job to do together. People that just have fun together, that's the only thing they do together. They're actually not as connected as people that actually work towards something together, help each other. But you take Cornerstone and the Alliance, the more connected you can be, you can see the efficiencies. You're not all best at all the same thing, or you don't all have the same, relationships around the world. So leveraging each other gives incredible efficiency to do the best for the client.
Right. And that's really what we try to, foster in our group, but also that the ultimate goal is, like I said, you're working towards a common goal is to service the client, to help them have a great experience and get the best transaction possible. And if you do it one way, I do it the other way, we might be both right or wrong, but at least we can work together, connect and collaborate on how we can do this better together.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some, talking about clarity and just some, maybe what's one thing that in an M&A transaction, or, one thing that we can do to, maybe it's more business development, I don't know, something, because, deal flow is king in our world, right?
Yeah.
And it's such a cyclical, up and down industry. What's something that we can do, that to provide clarity to the business owner? Because a lot of times, and we always say, our biggest competitor is probably the unsolicited offer from a buyer. And the business owner has never gone through this process before, right? So they don't know what they don't know. And what's something that, off the top of your head, put you on the spot here, that we could do
two things. Let me jump in on here. So some people say, oh, more transparency, more transparency. Transparency builds trust. The data shows transparency does build trust. And yet, transparency isn't equal to trust, in that some of your kids are so transparent on social media, I don't trust them for a second, right? Confidentiality is also trusted. This is the challenge in M&A and in law, in quarterly earnings reports and everything. All I would say is be as transparent as you possibly can while being as confidential as you ought to be. So that's
I like that.
Something you need to do. The other thing is there's several tips or tools I might say here, but I will say this to everybody out there in M&A. You all think you are clear, but you were not as clear as you could have been. You can all be clear. And that's what I would press into is so think about this. The first real estate transaction you ever did in life, or at least I'll just speak to myself, my first home. I didn't have enough money. I had to get this special deal for 3% down. It was a duplex in a pretty tough area. It's like, we're going to rent out the other side so we can make enough. Like, this is, back in the 1900s. My kids, like, you were around the 1900s. Anyway, but this was back, it's our very first home. We never bought a home before. You're scared to death. You're leveraging your life. You don't know what you're doing, right? This is a little bit M&A-ish. I'm just going to relate it here. Okay. It's your baby. It's your money. It's risk. It's on the other side of, when you're selling your company, it's like, this is your future. This is all your, but think of buying your first home. That's a scary time too, probably scarier. And so you're like, what's going to happen to me? What if they foreclose? What if my job wasn't great, then? And, it's you're just starting out. And that mortgage person and real estate person, do you remember all the paperwork you had the first time you did a home?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. So they're just like, oh, just sign. Everybody just sign. Yeah, I just do this. I hated that experience. I never went back to my first mortgage person or my first real estate person. And I bought a lot more properties since then. I bought real estate and rental and whatever. And your next time you're used to it and you're okay with it. But I will tell you this. If that first broker, mortgage, let's say, would have said, do you have any questions? And they would have been patient and let me ask dumb questions and not made me feel stupid. If that first realtor would have said, yeah, I get it. I mean, look at this, and just empathize for a second, said, I know it's all this paperwork. I know you probably feel like it's life. You don't understand what it's in it. I can tell you I do, but I'm willing to take all day today and go through anything you want to understand that you don't. If they would have done that the first time, they never would have done it again. And I would have been with them for the next 10 properties.
Yeah.
But they were not willing to be patient or clear. And that's what I would say. You're right. These guys, you kind of want to run through them because it's like, I don't have all day. I got to do another deal. And they're not going to sell another business anyway. I'm telling you something. Everybody that sells a business has 5 friends that are entrepreneurs. And how they that those of us that are entrepreneurs and have built big businesses, we're probably pretty smart at something, but not everything. But most of us don't like feeling dumb. And you got junior whatever coming in and you're having to sign this thing and look at this thing. And we don't know that. We know how to make millions of dollars, with a graphics company or like we can do injection molding, right? And we know how to do all this, but they haven't been through this process. So if that process, you will slow down, make extra time, bring a fresh baked goods and some coffee, and sit there and say, I'll take as much time. I know this is a lot to look at, a lot to understand. We got 5 deals here. This one might look the most because of this one. I know I have an idea what I would do, or I have some advice for you. But first, let me just say, take what's your gut say? Like, what do you really let them, even, and they're going the wrong way, and they're going the wrong way. Let them go a little bit. Be patient with them and be crystal clear about anything they have questions on without making them feel stupid. And you know what? You're going to have 5 deals from their friends.
Yeah, that's great advice, because and something that you don't probably think about, because you have done this many times, like you said.
Yep.
They've never done it, and you're ready to go. They're not. So
Yep.
get to their speed and help them understand. I love that. That's great.
Because you want to get the deal done and you want to go celebrate tonight too, because you get a cut. But
Yeah.
you just gotta not. There's all these people, you said it today at Cornerstone. Well, our deals, we want to do the best for our clients. I'm telling you, get in that room and they don't.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go in there and sign the deal too and go celebrate with your wife. And if you can really live by what you said, that you actually want to do what's best for them, you'll slow that down just a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
As far as this is a different little simple strategy as far as your deal makers, getting deal flow, because that's just a business function. I would tell one seemingly simple idea that can change the world. And that is, we call it DMAs, difference making actions. So every day, your folks, this is on the biz dev side. You got most people don't do the most important thing they could do today to move the organization forward first. They don't. They read the paper, they check email, they do a bunch of other stuff, but they don't do the most important thing. So I had people on my team 25 years ago that, they would say, I worked really hard all day and I didn't get anything done. Well, I don't want that to happen with people I pay, right?
Right.
So I said, okay, so we have this sticky notes. I actually have them made for this, so I'll show it on the screen. I'm not going to show my today's, but you see it says today's DMAs, difference making actions.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, I will. Number 2, I will. Number 3, I will. Now, we all have our to-do list with 100 items on it online. But we can even just take and do it. I even often still just do it on a sticky note, but we have these made because anyway. But we want everybody before tomorrow writes down the top 5 things they could do to move the organization in their role forward, their top priority forward starting tomorrow. We want them to be done with their DMAs by 11 in the morning. These aren't all day do this. And your DMAs have to be 3 things. They have to be, we say fun, F-U-N. They have to be first thing first. You put the first number 1. They have to, U is under the key priority in fun, first under the key priority for the time. And the N is the most critical that people will not do. And that is number. There has to be a number attached. So I can't say, people say, I'm just going to make more calls tomorrow. No, you're not. What's more? What does that even mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make 5 calls at 6 a.m. I can do something. There's a number, 5. I'm going to clean my office. That's overwhelming. I'm going to clean 1 drawer. I'm going to clean for 20 minutes. They have a number attached. And these are short. By the way, the biggest thing people avoid is short things, little things. 5, 3, do the most important. We don't have to say, hey, everybody, make 20 more calls today. They don't have to make the call. That one most important call, and quit saying, well, it's Friday. They're probably golfing today. That's Monday. They got meetings. Just do the one. Mm-hmm. And if they're in the meeting, leave a message or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's like, so once we got people doing the 5 most important things first, even if they had other things and they would do this first, that changed everything. And written down, by the way, don't leave this in an electronic interrupter. I don't want to create an app for this. This sticky note goes in front of everything.
We got here. You'll love this. We got one here too.
I love it. GSD. There we go.
Yeah.
3. Good.
Yep. And
I had an intern.
Did that this morning. It's just funny you said make the one call this morning. I made that one call to a prospect in a market, and I'm like, I got that done. I feel really good now.
Yep.
Now we're moving forward. Like I needed to get that one done. I got it done by 9 a.m.
Yep. I love it. By the way, that DMA is never contingent on them. So it's not contingent on if they picked up or not. All you can do is you can do. So I made the 5 calls. None of them answered. You know what I know about my team? If they make the 5 calls every day, they'll answer sometime.
Yep.
If they do the right emails every day, 3 of them or whatever it is, they'll answer. Do those things. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Love it. I have, Dave, this time has been amazing. I have one more question for you. How do you know, when you sign on a client, obviously trust goes into that, but as you're going through the process, are there things you can do to gauge, does my client trust me? Are there things that you can look for, tips and tricks, so you can know, like, I'm doing the right thing, or they do trust me?
2 or 3 things. Number 1, if you ever want them, we have assessments for this. So you have a customer assessment, and it's just 5 questions, a simple assessment. You can know right now even why you weren't trusted. It competes with like the net promoter score. That's like, how do you get referrals? Well, you don't get referrals with referrals. You get referrals when these things happen. So it points to those things to get higher referrals. But you can measure it that way. And the 2 other ways that you would just do is, 1, your gut is probably true. If you don't feel like they really trust you, they probably don't. And I'd say, hey, is there something that I'm doing? And number 3 would be by how much information that they share with you freely.
Yeah.
You can just check. If they're not sharing certain information, they don't fully trust you.
Yeah. They're more reserved, not forthcoming. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. And so 8 pillars we talked about. This is something that we can all do. And that is your Trust Matters book, correct?
Yep. That'd be a good. TrustEdge does. Trusted Leader is awesome too. They all come back to the 8 pillars, but they give different takeaways. And Trust Matters has the tips they can use tomorrow morning.
Yep. Love it. And one last time, the new book, Trust at a Distance, coming out.
6 strategies for building trust in remote work teams. Yep. That's here you go. You can buy it right now on Amazon. Brand spanking.
Go get them. Go get all the books, because I'm gonna make sure to get Trust at a Distance as well as the Trust Matters. I want to dive into deeper on the 8 pillars and the strategies, so that I can do to be a better version of myself for my members. So appreciate everything, David. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Where can our members, guys?
TrustEdge.com is the simplest, or if you can spell my name, davidhorsager.com, that'll get you there. To me, that's a lot of the keynoting and my books and my advisory work personally. David Horsager, HORSAGER.com. And then you can always just go to TrustEdge.com. TrustEdge, that gets you to the Institute, and you can find me there and all the research and assets. And if you want to get certified or you want to go deeper, then there's a lot of that's TrustEdge.com.
David, thank you so much. This is one of the best episodes we've done here. Love all the great content that you provided. I always like 2 or 3 takeaways. I've got 8 to 10. I love it. So thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you taking the time. Everybody, make sure you share this episode with someone in your life who can benefit from our conversation here today. Make sure to tune in every week. Until next time, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the M&A Mastermind podcast, and a special thank you to our presenting sponsor, Cornerstone International Alliance. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, share, and comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. We'll be back next week with more insights, strategies, and real-life experiences to help you take your M&A game to the next level.